Alright, good morning people of YouTube. So this time we are back with another deck profile. This is going to be a more standard look at a TyrantKabuterimon list. With a couple cards at the end. I got another tab open here to show you some other choices that we could put in this list. But TyrantKabuterimon is looking like a pretty scary deck going into the BT16 format. There are a lot of cool things that this deck can do as far as removing a bunch of your opponent's cards from the in play. And then just kind of going super wide for free and then closing out the game with a bunch of bugs. So let's look at this card and then we'll get into the card by card. So TyrantKabuterimon, the biggest drawback to playing this is the 6 cost to evolve over a level 5. There is a way to mitigate this. You can evolve over a level 6 Insectoid with 13 or less play cost for a cost of 2, so over your Herc, over your Shiva, or over your Grand Kuwagamon. This card is pretty expensive to evolve into, but because of the Modimon egg from BT15, if it's the end of your turn and you have the Insectoid trait, you can attack an opponent's Digimon, essentially giving you, like, a pseudo-blitz, right? So, this card, being able to attack after that is pretty nice, but when Digivolving, you'll also get to play any Insectoid or Larva trait Digimon from your hand and reduce its play cost by 8. Which means you could even play like Shivamon for 4, or stuff like that. And then, while it's suspended, it's not affected by the effects of their Digimon, which is great. And then at the end of your turn, by suspending one of your other Digimon, you get to return an opponent's Digimon with as much or less DP as that Digimon to the bottom of their deck. So you can even go into things like Tyrant for just 6 memory, and then they suspend each other. And then you're bottom decking 2 Digimon with 14k or less. That's pretty funny. Or you can do things like play the Metal Life Kuwagamon to give something plus 3k and suspend something. You can combo this effects with, like, Patamon. Whenever they get suspended, they're going to lose 2 memory. So there's a lot that you can do with this card. Some of the other cards that we are making access of is going to be this Izzy from BT15. It's a memory setter, which is great, but during your opponent's turn, when an opponent's Digimon attacks, by suspending this Tamer, you can switch the attack target to one of your suspended Digimon with the Insectoid trait. So, the inheritable for Metal Life Kuwagamon is that same effect. So with this inheritable, with multiple Izzies out, you are making it so that whatever sticks around on your opponent's board cannot get over your big bug, since it's immune to Digimon effects. They literally have to have hard option removal, in which case you can play things like Shivamon to prevent that. So, without further ado, we'll go ahead and get into the card by card. Those are some of the main points of interest in the deck. The Digitama is going to be the 4 copies of Modimon. You don't need anything else. It's a 1-stack deck. You're promoting that stack. You're winning the game. For the rookies, we do have 4 copies of the Tentomon from BT15. This is a pretty important card for the deck. Its inheritable effect lets you gain a memory if you delete something by battle, and at the start of your main, it lets you suspend something and then buff up one of your bugs by 3,000 points, which is pretty cool. You can choose itself and use your boost to go up the full line and go into the Tyrant that way. And then end of turn, swing into the dude that you suspended with this Tentomon. That's pretty nice. This Tentomon combines pretty well with the Palmon that we are playing 4 of. This card is just really good. Targeting something and saying if you get suspended, you lose 2 memory is fantastic. That not only that, but your inheritable effect is if you would Digivolve and you have a green Tamer, you reduce the cost by 1. That's also really good. Getting cheap Evos is fantastic. You can do something like promote this Palmon, target one of their dudes, go into the Kabuterimon for 1, and then pop off a training to go into the Metal Life Kuwagamon for 0, because this Palmon's effect will be active, that inheritable at that point. Suspend something, and then gain 2 memory back, and that's really cool. So, this card combos really well with a lot of the bugs in the deck, since the bugs are just suspending things, so you're gaining stray memory in order to complete your plays. And reduction on an inheritable is still good. For the last rookie, it's kind of up in the air as to what you what you really want. I've seen people play the Kokuamon that has inheritable security up. I've seen people play some Searchers. I really like this Terriermon because it'll allow me to establish multiple Izzies in the early game. If you see this as your first rookie, you feel pretty comfortable promoting it and then dropping an Izzy for 2 and then, like, passing turn, choking them that way. Because that means you're going to start the game early with a memory setter that you established for pretty cheap. Not only that, but Double Typhoon is a fantastic searcher. And at some point in the mid-game, if you need more Izzies to redirect more attacks, let's say you're going up against something that goes super wide, like Nume or Armor, you can drop a you can activate Double Typhoon's delay effect, play this Terriermon, drop another Izzy for super cheap, and you are redirecting more attacks now. So, it's really good synergy with the deck. Inheritable effect lets you get 1,000 points bigger. It's pretty nice. And yeah, just 11 rookies because we are a 1-stack deck. And then most of the Digimon that we were playing by effects are coming from Tyrants. So we want full value, so we want to play like a level 4 or higher. So going into the level 4s, this is kind of where the deck gets super up in the air. There are a lot of choices for the level 4s, and kind of just go with what feels right. Something that me and a bunch of my buddies have been talking about is this Sneemon from Starter Deck 9. It is a security Digimon, so it'll play itself after the battle. And on play, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. That's pretty cool. You can also do cool plays, like this combos really well with Tyrant's End of Turn. You'll just hard slam the Sneemon, suspend something, and then get an end of turn attack off the Modi and attack whatever you just suspended. This card is pretty nice. I really like it for the deck. It's good defensively and offensively in that regard. And having a level 4 that can come out of security can surprise your opponent. Let's say they didn't see a body in the back and they weren't expecting you to be able to build up. Well, they hit into this card, and then all of a sudden you can, and that's pretty nice. So I do like the Sneemon. Other level 4s that you could include. The Blade Kuwagamon you will see in a lot of lists. It's just an on-play, and when Digivolving get a 3,000 DP buff until the end of their turn, which is really nice. And an all turns inheritable of plus 1,000 while you're suspended is also really nice. This card lets Tyrant hit absurd numbers in things like the Mirror Match, so you will see people play some number of this card in their list. Same with the promo Kuwagamon. I'm only including one because I only own one and I don't plan on picking more up. But if you own more copies of this card, then feel free, because this card is fantastic. The Your Turn inheritable of plus 2,000 is, again, great for things like the Mirror Match. And the on-play to lock something down is really cool. This forces your opponent, if they're playing like Magnamon, to trigger their Blinding Rays preemptively, just in order to be able to unsuspend. So this is a nice card, especially this format. But yeah, test it out. I don't think it's absolutely necessary for the deck, but it's like another Sneemon. I guess the Sneemon is kind of the budget version of this card. But we do also have Kuwagamon X as an option. This card, the main draw to this card is Inheritable Piercing, which I really like on Tyrant, especially with the Modimon Egg. You know, being able to control the board and also do damage is really nice. So, yeah, you could find yourself including more copies of this card if you want it. Another option that I really like is the Starter Deck 4 Kabuterimon, just for the fact that it is a 1 cost to evolve Digimon that is an insect. So it has inherent synergy with the deck. It's something that I can slam off of TyrantKabuterimon. It'll be a blocker if I do, which is pretty cool. Having blockers is nice. But also being able to go up the line for just 1 memory is cool. Like, let's say turn 1 I have like Palmon and a training boost, and then maybe like an Izzy, right, if I'm going second. On my next turn, I can go into this for 1, pop a training, go into ultimate for 0 if I evolved on Palmon, for 1 if I evolved on anything else. And then you just kind of get value from there. This is a really cheap piece to climb with. And don't underestimate the 1 cost evos, because there was entire formats where this was just the play and it was determined by it, and I feel like this card could really help a deck like this. But again, there are so many options for your level 4s. Just choose what feels right. This is where you get to get a little creative with the deck. For the level 5s, Metal Life Kawagumon is the obvious inclusion as a 4 of. This is one of your best targets to play off of Tyrant. This is one of your best cards to evolve Tyrant on top of because of that inheritable effect. It's just a phenomenal card. You have to play 4 of this one. For the other inclusions, I am choosing to play Lilymon Ace as a 2 of because I really like this card, specifically this format. So you're playing against a lot of armors, you're playing against a lot of, like, Yellow Vaccine and stuff. They'll play, like, maybe Ukomons or try to put some Floodgates out, maybe a Patamon in the back, maybe they put a Davis into a Vmon, or they are trying to establish a Terriermon into a rapid play. So this card will just, if you're going second and they pass you 3 memory, come down for 4, choke them to 1, and then put whatever they had on the bottom of the deck. And then, on your next turn, this card can even evolve into Tyrant. So it's like one of those cards that just streamlines your decision-making. By doing this card, you don't have to choose between dealing with a potential Ukomon on the board or establishing a line to go on the Tyrant, because this card kind of does both. Which is why I'm playing this over the Mega Kabuterimon Ace. I mean, you could play that card, but I don't really feel like it does a lot for the deck. Whereas this card is just great in the early game, great in the mid game. And there are times that you can just drop this in the late game and suspend their last blocker and kind of go for game. So I like the Lilymon. It's a really good card for the deck. Another really good card for the deck is this Okuamon promo. Being able to give a pseudo Ice Wall effect to your opponent's Digimon is really nice. And again, the inheritable effect of Piercing is great on Tyrant. For those of you that don't know, if this card would Digivolve into an insect, all of your opponent's Digimon gain an effect that says if they become suspended, you lose 1 memory, which will stack with the Palmon. So if you suspend something off of, like, the Herc or the Tyrant, then you're, like, gaining 3 memory. And that's fantastic. So, love this card. Inheritable Piercing is great. Yeah, really, really like it. For the level 6s, Tyrant's your main boss monster. You can do the deck with only Tyrant if you choose, with just a couple of, like, aces or, like, supporting pieces. And that's kind of what we're going with here. We got the Shiva to prevent options and to also trash security. This card is kind of nice. We got the Grand Kawagumon Ace because this card suspends stuff and helps us deal with some Tamers. Also, having aces in the deck is great because you're slamming down level 5s off of Tyrant's end of turn effect, or when Digivolving effect. You're playing this, suspending something, and then doing a bunch of plays. And then if your opponent tries to swing, then you can go into the Grand Kawagumon Ace, and that's pretty cool. A card that I don't see a lot of people talking about is going to be this Hercules Kabuterimon from BT16. At the start of your main phase and when Digivolving, you get to suspend something, and then one of your Digimon gets Piercing. So if you missed Piercing in your line, this is a good way to get it. And all turns, if this Digimon is suspended, it isn't affected by the effects of your opponent's Digimon. So if you're having to swing with this card, it's really great. This card dodges, like, the starter deck Magnamon from security, and a lot of niche effects in the format. And yeah, it's pretty good. Being able to be unaffected by things is great. Being able to suspend something is great. And then you go into Tyrant for 2 on top of that, and that's a really cool bridge. Especially since this can give itself Piercing and then go into the Tyrant and then swing, and then, you know, you're just doing a bunch of damage and removing a bunch of bodies, and that's great. So for the only Tamer in the deck is going to be this Izzy. It's the only one you really need. I guess there are some other pieces that you could play, but this is the only one that I've really considered. And then for the options, we got some standard stuff. We got the Hidden Potential discovered because this card is great. We want our stuff suspended anyway. So the only thing that we're missing out on with this card is if we only have 1 body in play and we have to suspend it to go into the Tyrant for just 1 memory. That's God, that's awesome. But the only thing we miss out on is being able to attack with the Modimon inheritable effect after that effect. But This card is really great. You can combo this really well with a double Typhoon to play the Terriermon, and then suspend the Terriermon with hidden potential to go into the Tyrant. Again, that's one of the reasons why we're playing the double Typhoon. But yeah, HPD is great. Double Typhoon is also great because we can search the Izzy. That's one of the main reasons this card is in here. It's really good in the early game to establish one of these, so that in the mid-game you can drop a Terriermon, get an Izzy for free, maybe have HPD target, maybe have another stack, but it'll allow you to go extra wide in the late game to establish your win condition. And then the rest of the cards in the deck are boost, because we want to see all of our pieces, and green is a deck that notoriously needs a lot of boosts, so I am playing effectively 8 if you count the double Typhoon, but 2 green memory boosts and 4 agility training, because this deck is, it really wants to see its pieces, because its pieces make it win. So let's talk about some other cards that you can play. You are playing the double Typhoon, so this Lotmon is pretty cool, given Tyrant Alliance is gimmicky, but, that's a lot of damage, and that's a really high DP threshold you can hit, so this card is kind of nice. Digimon Emperor is just something that you can play in any deck right now. Like, obviously, this card is really good into numemon with them playing 8 Ukos. It's really good into armors because it forces them to see their Magna pieces before they promote, and that's always funny. This card is really great against Yellow Vaccine because it can make Patamon either not happen because they never get to their main phase, or it just makes Patamon not free, which is still great. Like, if you can get 1 or 2 of these out against Yellow Vaccine, you're going to have a fantastic time. And then the rest of the pieces are just some generic good green cards. You got Mega Kabuterimon Ace, which you can obviously play, but I don't like it. I've never found a situation in testing with this deck that I've wanted to use it. You have these downloaders, the Digisorption guys, the Blossomon and the Argomon, they're both limited to 1. These cards are really great at going up a stack cheaply, and this is kind of what green wants to do, so if you don't like the choices that I have, definitely consider playing these, because I think these are also phenomenal options. Another phenomenal option is actually going to be the starter deck for Mega Kabuterimon. Which says, during your turn, as an inheritable effect, if this Digimon deletes an opponent's Digimon in battle and survives, they trash their top security card. The only reason I'm not playing this card is because it's only a your turn effect. I can't threaten them the same way like Machine Dramon can, by like redirecting their attack with Analog Man and then triggering the Metal Tyranno effect to trash their security. Izzy won't make this card trash the security on their turn. Only works on mine, so it's fine. It's a good card, and consider playing it, but it didn't make my final list. We also have other Kabuterimon pieces, like this Kabuterimon from BT16, which is neat. It has an effect that says if you delete an opponent's Digimon in battle, you gain a memory as an inheritable, which is still really good, and this is all turns, which matters for the Izzy interaction. So it is something worth considering. Again, your level 4s are super flexible. You could even play like Roachmon because of the 3 cost, 1 to Evo. But there are so many options for your level 4. This one is just one of them. But yeah, this slide was to give you some more options for your list. But this is what I'm going with for my standard TyrantKabuterimon list that I'm testing at the beginning of the format. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you all next time. Bye, everyone.